My reasons for going on my own, having my own business to freelance, something I've always wanted to do, to be honest with you. But you get comfortable in employment. I had senior positions paid very, very well, and you just become so comfortable. But equally, no job's guaranteed. Um, and the final push that really made me step into it is I suddenly lost my mum. So it was during lockdown, during COVID. It wasn't COVID. She was just became very sick from January onwards. And it turned out she had terminal cancer. We didn't know she had cancer until it was terminal. And they rang us up. So during lockdown, rang us up, says, right, choice is home or hospice. Your mum said wants to be a hospice. I went, no, bring her home. I'll speak to her, bring her home. Because I knew I wouldn't get to see much of her because of the lockdown. We brought her home. They said 1 to 2 months. We had about 10 days with her. And it sort of made me think life's too short for regrets. This is something I've spoken about for a long time. Let's do it. It did coincide as well with a company I was working for that was going into administration, and the administrators were taking me on. So it was quite nice. It was that little first contract. But the real push was my mum. And the reason I've always wanted to do it was worked in corporate 20, 25 years, and you're working a lot of the time for shareholders, people that don't know you, the insurance companies and everything else. You're working really long hours, and I had all the weight on my world on my shoulders. Sometimes I was starting at 5:30 on calls with China, finishing at 7, 8, 9 on calls with the US as well. So I didn't want to just help one company get really rich or, whatever they decide to do. I wanted to be able to help multiple companies with my expertise at, the fractional way so that they do access my support, and hopefully they get brilliant return on investment. So the first 12 months, so like I said, I had a first contract via some administrators, and I think that lasted between 6 and 9 months. That took up about 2 days in a week. And to be fair, it did pay pretty good. So that really helped at the start. And I started advertising. So during COVID, all networking was on Zoom groups. So I joined multiple Zooms. I spoke about my fractional CFO, part-time finance director, lots of different names, testing the waters, that senior person that you only have to pay as and when you need it. It wasn't really hitting the mark. I wasn't in front of the right audiences. I wasn't, selling myself. At the end of the day, I know everything about strategic finance. I'm not a marketer. I'm not a salesperson. So all of a sudden you got this new cap. So it was great that first contract, but it was difficult. The vision I had, it was so difficult I don't know what my expectations was, but it definitely wasn't a straight route to where I am now. And I had friends saying to me, oh, can you do my accounts? And yes, I am, a certified management accountant. I have done all the exams. I can do accounting. It's not what I'm overly passionate about. I can do it, and I have got a few clients with this, and I like doing their books. And I said yes, because I thought, well, that will give me testimonials, that will give reviews, and it does get some income in as well. So I did have to start off doing something that was never part of my vision. But then from that, I started to get the odd forecast through, and I started to be known. The big input for me came towards the end of year one when I started being more consistent on LinkedIn. The social media, you either love it or hate it, don't you? Or it switches from one week to the other, one week you do not. So for me, for my business, LinkedIn has been the platform, because my thought is business owners. So my niche is manufacturing and distribution. However, over half of the businesses I support are professional services. But the larger businesses, I was thinking they're not going to really go on Facebook and everything. It's typically a man in this sector, and they're working extremely long hours. I can't imagine, oh, look at little Daisy. I can't imagine that they'll be on Facebook surfing the groups on Facebook. So I went LinkedIn. And I had some training really early on from Leah Turner. And this was in the early days, unknown. I think her training was about £250 at the time. That was my first major investment in my business. And that is just a fraction of what she's charged towards the end of doing a LinkedIn training. But that really put me it really helped me out because I was one of the early adapters. There was sort of a group of us. We were definitely not a pod, but we were just sort of introduced to support each other, and it just really helped. So without being podified, because I hate pods, we did have a group that we could engage with early on because I didn't know anyone on LinkedIn. So it really was supportive. And LinkedIn, I'm generally consistent. I do have my times where a month or two I might go really quiet. At the moment, I've not got any love for it. I'm doing posts and I might get 100 views where I used to always get at least 5,000 views and 20 engagements. But over the years, I look back, so over the 4 years, I turnover must be about 70% from LinkedIn. I think I count about £500,000 has come in directly or indirectly through LinkedIn. So I keep reminding myself of that, like the hard days, keep consistent, keep going. Because the people that do contact me are the ones that I've never engaged and they land in my DM or they drop me an email or something else. So when I'm seeing those 100 views compared to 5,000, I only need one or two that will eventually contact me. So yeah, I carry on LinkedIn. I do have a Facebook and an Insta page, which I just keep going. I don't think about any business. I have been in some Facebook groups in the past, but they just don't really sit with me, as in I'm not committed to the group, so I don't see any returns. TikTok, I think I might have done a video or two. But yeah, LinkedIn's mine. Hopefully I'm aligned for my audience there. I love that I'm freelancing. I don't think I could ever be employed now, to be honest. It's the flexibility, more than making millions or anything like that. It's having the freedom, it's having the flexibility. So a dream when I was a young girl, you'll know, Jean, lots of people know I love my horses. And a dream was always to have my horses in my back garden. Nothing grand, but a yard, an arena, and a field. And that happened 2.5 years ago because of freelancing. Because if I was in full-time employed work, I wouldn't be around for the farrier or for the feed deliveries and things like that. But because I'm quite lucky, the office behind me is in my house. It's a dedicated office, it's not used for anything else. It gives me absolute flexibility. Don't get me wrong, it can be incredibly hard. It can be spinning lots and lots of plates at the same time. But generally, I try and make it so that I'm not absolutely super full. So if something slips, it's easy to catch up as well. And it's having time with my daughter. She turns 13 this month. So it's having time with my daughter. It's been able to pick and choose what hours I work. I might do a few hours on a Sunday, and someone says, "Why are you doing that on a Sunday when you've got your own business?" Because I choose to, because I want to, because I may have had Friday off. I do the hours I want to do, and I'm in control of my spending. And yeah, it's difficult when income's not regular. I mean, something what I preach is have a business savings account if you're a limited company, but always have savings. And then you can keep it flat, hopefully, your income, your money doesn't have to go up and down in line with sales. But yeah, freedom. I just keep saying freedom, the flexibility. Did anything surprise me? Um, I think the networking, to be honest. I always thought I would see greater returns in networking. So I've been networking for over 5 years, different groups, different commitments. And I think in the 5 years, I'd had 2 referrals out of 5 years. And I've got a great group of people. They've really benefited from me. I've given a lot of work out, but networking, I think it's going to come. I've got a good feeling about it. But people say go network and you get clients. And I really think it depends on what your services are. Because I offer something a little bit bigger, a little bit different. But saying that, I do have packages starting £400. Yeah, I think that's been the difficult one for me. Yeah, so how do I structure my day? It's a really good question, actually, because I go with the flow, to be honest. So I book meetings in. I try and keep my client meetings over 3 days, Tuesday to Thursday. There might be networking days taken out of that. Um, but I try and keep 3 days. So I've got a couple of days to work for myself or to book other things personally. But I go with the flow. Many times I've asked the question, should I do split shift? Should I work mornings? Should I work late? It's really hard, isn't it? I know I'm really, really productive late at night. So if I start working, say 7, half 7, wow, I can go for 4 or 5 hours, and the amount of work I get out is amazing. It's probably equivalent to 2 or 3 full days. But I don't want those hours because my daughter, so I'm getting my daughter up for school. I'm feeding my horses in my back garden and everything else. I need to get up early. Maybe when my daughter's old and she can feed the horses and I don't need to get ready for the school, I can switch to a night shift and have my days free. But I always try to book everything in advance. So when people say, can we have a meeting tomorrow? Usually it's a no. I do have spaces for my VIP clients, but everything is probably 3 weeks ahead for me. And it just suits me really well. So that becomes a bit frustrating on a personal note, where certain I need them for me on like the horse related things, and they're not booked in because I'm like, whoa, I don't know what I'm going to do next week because I need you, and you've not booked it, and my diary's becoming really full. Um, I leave gaps. I try and block out gaps from the lunch because it's really easy to just squeeze in that meeting. Majority of my clients are outside the Northwest, so majority are on Zoom. I've got them overseas, I've got them down south, I've got Scotland. So it's quite easy for a client to say, can we jump on a Zoom? And I'll often say yes, if available. But then you have to watch yourself for burning out, haven't you? Because you want to be doing the best for your clients. You can't get rid of every hour. So I try and rest well, try not to work in an evening, even though I think that would actually suit me working in the evening. And I just try and condense my meetings now over 3 days just to keep my energy flowing. So I am using AI, but I'm quite a newbie, so I don't think I can give any recommendations out to others all the time. But I do have my chat GPT and I'm doing like the paid version. I think it's about £20 a month. It's not much, but it remembers my history. And I think I'm using it how most people are that don't know much about AI. So I'll have an idea about social media posts and I'll ask it to break it down, give me ideas, but then I adapt it. But the more you train it, because I'll say this is how I'm going to post it, it gets better. So I'll use, not for all the posts, but I'll use that if I'm having a bit of a uninspiring moment. I've also used it to look at research things like exhibitions, what exhibitions are going on in my area that I could attend. Um, Things like scheduling, like train times and stuff like that. I mean, we're meeting up next month and I'm fitting in a client as well. So I did chat GPT just to work out if to fit it in together or do 2 separate days. I know you can use it far more. Like on Zero, AI is, and a lot of financial software, it's creeping in. It'll give you suggestions. You go down your bank rec and you can click yes, but you can't do it blindly. You do still have to look. And I know there's a lot of concern in some roles that AI might take over, like bookkeepers say AI might just take over. And it could do in a long way, but it's then having the people to make sense of it all, to make sense of, well, we've got these numbers and what does it mean? And is it correct tax for your circumstances, for the bookkeepers? I think it's time to embrace it because that's the way the world is going, isn't it? But equally, don't become reliant on it. So I'm limited in what I can give to AI because of client confidentiality with what I do. Um, but it's sort of like the non-personal things. Sometimes emails, I don't know about you, but sometimes an email, I'm like, I know what I want to say, but it just doesn't sound right. I write it, copy and paste it to chat GPT, and I go, flipping heck, that's brilliant. And then I'll, you always have to tweak it a bit to make it like you. But I think that's one of my biggest time savers. I probably use it for the odd. Nobody think the email come from ChatGPT because I tweak it, but those ones where you just can't think how to word it or summarize it, and you don't want to send a right long-winded email to somebody. Um, I've not done much with imaging yet, but I believe it can touch you up quite well, give you a bit of a makeover. Maybe I should ask it to give me some different hairstyles, who knows? So yeah, I'm embracing it. I'm learning. There's room for improvement. I might try the Copilot, but I'm a little bit reluctant to hand over my emails to AI, to be honest. I'd rather have myself or my PA for quick responses were needed. Okay, so a top tip based around financial side of things is speak to an accountant early on. Don't go off and rush into being a limited company and VAT registered. It might not be right for you. Make sure you know the difference between being self-employed and limited company. It suited me to go limited from the start, due to registrations and things like that. And I would be working for businesses typically VAT registered. But don't go off the back of Dave down at the pub says it's better this way. Speak to somebody and share, your finances. I know you're not going to know your forecast, but your ideas. And when engaging with an accountant, if you engage with a good one, they will give you top tips to start with. And the other thing is that don't do it yourself. Don't do returns yourself. So if you're self-employed, I don't know what the rate is now. It might cost 300, 400, 500 per return. See it as an investment because they will save you money. So I have a few accountancy practice clients, and even though they're limited, I will do the self-assessments as well. And these two directors, I was meant to be doing the wives as well, but one of them just went ahead and did it. They've got like two small self-employed businesses. I could have saved them £1,000 in tax, but they saw it as saving. I don't know what I was charging, probably about 250 because they're existing clients. Um, because yeah, you want to get your tax right. We give the tax man too much money, and you don't want to get caught out doing out dodgy without realising as well. So I'm not selling myself because I don't offer the services, but I can point you in the right direction if you want to speak to somebody. But talk to an accountant, make sure you set up your business structure correctly, put aside a little bit of money, and see your accounting fee as an investment, not just a cost. So to have a healthy business, we need to keep our customers happy. We need to be good. And I see the number one delivery is communication. Communication is key. I always aim to reply back to somebody within a day. They might catch me, and it might be an hour. The odd time it might be a couple of days. But I do tell my clients if you've not had a response after a couple of days, your email may have gone A1 by accident. I'm really proud. And when I'm off and the team cover, they will always reply. So I'm really proud on communicating because I hear so many times, like I said, I'm not in the accountant stream as such, but I hear some they never get back to me. I asked that question 2 months ago and I'm still waiting for a response. But then I said, well, why are you waiting? Why aren't you following up? Why haven't you done anything about it? It's same in all aspects of life. I was talking to a friend about a solicitor's not getting back. So I'd be turning up at the front door, I'd be going in reception, I'd be like, what's going on? So communication and also being honest. I think those are just generally two things about being a nice person, a nice business to work for. If you can't deliver something or you can't meet the deadline, tell them up front. Don't promise a deadline. And then your client has to be chasing you because it's a day or two over. As soon as you know you can't deliver to that deadline, let them know. And you know what? It might be the same day. It might be that you've set that day aside, and like today, servers are down and you just can't do it. I've been in situations where people haven't responded to me for weeks. I don't know what's happening with the project. I'm chasing. And you know what? You just don't go back, do you, after that? It's not them. So my clients are a mixture of projects and retainers. Some projects are just basically doing that job and it's sorted. So there's no need to come back to me as such, it's finished. I do a lot of finance team mentoring as well. So I train them up. Once they're fully trained, I might just bob in every quarter or something like that to help out. Um, but for the retainers, it's just delivering what you say you're going to deliver. A lot of people say go above and beyond, but then you have to be careful about scope creep. We have to look after our energy. So when people say go above and beyond, that doesn't really sit for me. And I would never expect my clients to do that to get their income in. Um, but yeah, just deliver on time, just communicate. And but that goes both ways, doesn't it? So when a client doesn't communicate back to you, it stops you doing a really great job. And then that can become quite stressful. Because I think, well, I'm guessing some people might think, well, it's all right. If I've not responded, it's no problem. They don't know about the backlog. They don't know what that means in the back office for not, returning information when required. So yeah, communication, honesty, and just respect for each other, really. So scope creep, it happens to me, it happens to a lot of the clients, especially if you're a service business, when your product, it's not too bad because they're buying the product and you ship the product, end of story. When you're a service business, if you're a decent person, you want your client to be happy and pleased with what you do. What I do in terms of engagement, so we have a chat what we want, do terms of engagement, and it will say what's in scope. And it does also say for items out of scope, we'll have a chat first about, the cost of delivering. Now, don't get me wrong, they might ask a question and I just answer it. I don't start the clock every question and like, right, that's chargeable. If something is chargeable, I tell them up front. I don't think there's anything worse than having done something, my clients see it, they ask a question, and all of a sudden they face a £500 bill from the professional services. So do it up front and talk up front. Set your boundaries. For me, the boundary is it a quick answer that I don't need to calculate, that I don't need to open past emails, but I can just say in my head, yes or no, do this. That's generally free. If it's then for a single day, I might say, look, we need to book a meeting and cover all your questions. But set your boundaries, set what it is you're delivering per client, have that terms of engagement that you can go back to. Because I must admit, at times I'm like, is this client on a monthly meeting or a quarterly meeting? Because I spoke to him only last month, so I'll go back to my terms, And again, if it's beyond a quick answer, I'll say, can this wait till the next meeting, or would you like to cover it now and let them know of the fee? Because what would happen if every client we gave them another 25%? We'd lose income. Yeah, our income will be down by that 25% at the end of the day. So define it in your scope, let them know what's in, tell them if it's out, and just be upfront about costs. And then they can decide if they really need it or not. Evolution of logical BI. So, as I said earlier, I started out, I was going to be an outsourced finance director, fractional CFO, whatever you want to call me. And that's what I was going to do. I was going to do business forecasts, I was going to do business planning, I was going to do retainers. It was hard to get this work to start with. So I did do some smaller one-off packages. I did do some accountancy retainers as well for clients. And, that was completely not part of my vision at all. If I had a vision board, that was nowhere on it. But I went there. But that meant I was progressing, I wasn't stalling, I was moving, I was earning, and I was getting testimonials. And you sort of practice those marketing and sales skills as well along the way as you're gaining these clients. So when I started off, it was always going to be finance and operations, it was going to be product businesses. But my main platform when I started to get more inquiries was LinkedIn. And LinkedIn, it's mostly service professionals that use it and communicate and are active on it. A lot of manufacturers, distributors are on there, but they're quite quiet. So I started to gain service clients. And a lot of the packages that I did then I've got now. So my packages have evolved and they become more structured where it was a bit like, well, what do you want? Well, now I can say, right, this is a package and we'll do A, B, C, and D. So it's sort of like a product off the shelf, which makes it easy to sell. So I've learned about the marketing and selling more. So I'd say my journey completely took an absolute U-turn at the start, and it's been slowly coming back to where I want to come. So at the moment, I am quite full, but half my work is projects, so they stop and start. So when I say full, I'm full for this month, it might be quieter next month. But now that I have got more work, I feel more confident to talk about my niche. A lot of people talk about niches, and it can be quite concerning because I have service businesses, but I still get service businesses, so that's all right. On LinkedIn, I have taken the plunge and I am talking about product businesses now. Um, but people do come to me and say, can you help me with my business? And that's all, they might not be, but I'm taking the plunge. And also for the first time, I'm doing DMs, which I've never done because I find them a bit icky when I receive them. But you know what? Sometimes the right DM lands at the right time. So I've been doing some DMs and I am getting a little bit of feedback, I'm getting feedback. And I think that's because I'm DMing the product businesses and the headline says, I look after product business. So it aligns and it's like, that is why they should be talking to me. So I'm what, 5.5 years in the journey, nearly 6 years, and I've gone right back, and I am now where I planned to be when I started, but it's taken 5 years to get there. So I think it's having adaptability, isn't it? Your evolution is all about having the flexibility and being able to adapt to either your market needs or who are the people, who's your audience, and how best you can fit their needs. Well, something that's been the bane of my business life, for whatever reason, are flipping websites. Like you start business, and now if I talk to people that are starting out, I say, look, just don't worry about your website. Just have a landing page. Don't worry because your business is going to evolve and it's going to change. So we had a website early on, and it was about 3 pages. And someone came along and says, "Oh, I can make it this, that, and the other." And you know what? They probably did deliver what they said. It just weren't great. And I think I'm on the fourth review of my website, which it's been different in styles, it's been different, not performing. I am starting to rank now in SEO. I feel it's going the right way. I've probably gained about 2 clients via my website directly, where they've done a Google search and landed on me. Rather than, I know a lot go on to check me out, but websites, I don't know what it is. And the more people I talk to out of marketing, it's that thing where I don't know, you have to have absolute faith in it from day one. And I think a lot of the problem is it can cost a lot of money. So you put off spending all that money to start with because you're trying out other mediums. So you do it, as I say, what is it? Buy cheap, pay twice, something like that anyway. It's something that you might do, and then you do it again, and you do it again. And I just lost the love in my website. But I must admit, I'm with somebody now who's doing a grand job. She's on a retainer, so we're refreshing it throughout the months, different pages. So it's sort of growing my ideas. I mean, we're not going to be on it forevermore, but I feel like, after 6 months, it should have all the information I want on there. I'd love it to stay with my CFO clients and have a portfolio of product related clients alongside the service clients that I've got today or referrals through my networking. Um, but together with that, I am starting, I'm going to call it a membership. There's so many communities out there. I'm starting a membership which should go live early 2026. And what this is about, it's not going to bring huge income. Well, you never know, it might absolutely take off. But sometimes I speak to business owners and they like the idea of what I do, but they've got a finance team. And they say, but my finance team should be able to do that. And they've either sent the finance team on training, they're qualified or whatever, but they don't have a finance mentor in house. They don't have anyone to bounce ideas off. So this membership is going to be for finance people in industry, so people that work at manufacturers, disties, stuff like that, that They might be a financial controller, they might be a finance manager, and they just want somebody to bounce ideas off. So this membership is going to be it's going to be on a new community platform. So I've got a product that I might then further license in the future, which will be wonderful. And it's going to be quite a low cost. It will be a business expense, so the person won't be paying it. It'll be the business as a way of alternate training. And we'll have guest speakers on. We'll have people on like GDPR, insurance, risk, foreign exchange, things that you wouldn't really get access to if you're in quite a small finance team. So it's probably going to be targeted for businesses that do a finance, so they're probably going to be what, 150, 200k to maybe 1 or 2 million, who have got a good team, but they need to be a bit more proactive. They need to be able to do forecasting. They need to understand FX. Don't get me wrong, it's not going to be an absolute full in-depth training they'll receive, but they'll be able to bounce ideas from other people in the membership and me. I'll be there every week. I'll be hosting a webinar. So it's me trying to get out into the community more, into the businesses more that might not necessarily have the funds for my services direct, but like the idea of the teams having access to me and to upskill the teams. So it's very early days, but I've got the platform ready. I've got a lot of ideas, and the plan is to launch that early next year. The traits to be a freelancer, I think it differs for everybody actually, what sort of freelancer you are. Are you a person with just 1 or 2 clients, or are you a person with many clients? So my husband is in logical BI, but he has nothing to do with finance. He does data architects, reports, and he works for 1 company at a time, maybe 2 at the most. So he's quite, it's, sometimes he's inside IR35 because of it. So he's got more structured, and that suits him because he admits he's not a juggler, he's not a multitasker at all. He likes to be focused on one thing, so that really suits him. I may have, with all my accountancy clients, even though I've got a small team to help me, I may have about 30 clients at any one time and have to be on the ball. I have no intention of having hundreds of clients. I've always said that from day one because I want to remember everyone's name and what it is they do, and the challenges, the opportunities they've got. So, there's a lot of people put themselves down and say, I don't think I could, you know, handle everything you have to do, the multiple clients, the multiple hats you have to wear. But I say if you're a parent, you're halfway. And at the same time, it really helps you out, because you can go to the sports day, you can do all this, but you can work around, your children's needs as well. But if you're a parent, flipping heck, I had my child, I think I was 36 when I had my daughter later life, and what a shock, because I had my life mapped out. I did things as and when, and all of a sudden everything's turned upside down, and you have to handle multiple things all the time. So it's adaptability, flexibility. I was going to say don't be stubborn, but I think sometimes stubbornness actually helps you. It depends which way, but sometimes the way you want your business to go, it doesn't go that way. So you just need to be flexible, adaptive, and being able to have the confidence to say yes and do things where you might feel a little bit, out of sorts. I am nowhere saying do things, get paid for things that you've no idea what to do, but it might be a different piece of software, or it might be a different type of, depending what you do, like different types of media if you're marketing, and just have that gumption to have a look at doing something different and going for it. So if you're up for a challenge, if you're the sort of person, I've always been up for a challenge. If somebody tells me I can't do it, I will prove them wrong. My daughter's got this now, and she's not winning. She's she's not in a happy place. But if you're up for a challenge, if you are committed to succeed, you need to go in it 100%. You can't go in it willy-nilly, and give yourself. It's not going to happen on day one unless you're extremely lucky. If you can give yourself a good 6 months before any income comes in, if you've got a bit of money in the bank, or you've got somebody that can back you up, it really does help. I always do discovery calls. I do have one link you can click and book direct consulting, but to be honest, most of them will have a discovery call and I'll say this actually suits you. This one-time consultation will suit you. I love discovery calls. It's two ways. You get a feel of the person and they get a feel of you. You can actually ask them questions about, the business, about themselves, why they contacted you, why do they think they need the support. And they can ask you anything else they want to feel, if you're the right fit. For me, the biggest thing of a discovery call is a fit. Do you get on with each other? I'll chat on the call, and I'm not saying I'm throwing in jokes and stuff, but I'll say things that, most people would give a smile. They don't smile back. I'm like, oh, I don't know if you're for me, mate. And and it's really good to tie it up because when they're calling me in like they're a product business, I can get across on the call that I understand. I can talk about SKUs, I can talk about bonds, I can talk about FOBs or X works, I can talk the lingo, which is hard to get across in text. And that gives them some real comfort. Plus, they always get a takeaway from a discovery call as well. I don't give them too much because, well, one, I can't give them regulations, I can't give them anything specific, but I can give you some general guidance. But they always take something away, so they get something out of that 30 minutes. Unless they come on and they just really don't want to listen and they just want to talk about themselves and, it all goes a bit pear-shaped. But yeah, I think it's just really good for each other because you can actually discover what it is they want. Recently, I had a chap on a discovery call who was looking for my services as a CFO. His banker told him he needed one. And he'd contacted some bigger firms that have like, say, 500 of me, big networks. You can probably find them if you do a search. And someone had taken and he contacted two, spoken to one, waiting for another, got on a call with me. It's usually Zoom, but they've got a choice of a phone call because they're not always behind a laptop. And we'd had a phone call and I said, go and speak to the other people. I know you're speaking to other people and come back to me if you want me to do a quote. And he says, no, just give me a quote, I'm going with you. And we talked about, sometimes I can just give, majority of times on the call, I can give a fixed price. If it's a retainer, we start with a financial health check. And then part of that is we discuss how we could work together going forward. So I give them an indication, but they'll always get a fixed price for the initial work. And I think that's the best way to do it. Just let's have 30 minutes, get to know each other, get to know what support's needed, make sure we get on and give a fee. So everybody leaves feeling hopefully fulfilled and it's a big yes for everyone.